So hello, welcome to Astrology Conversations today. So we're going to skip out of the goddess asteroids for the moment, because there's two absolutely massive important things happening in March in the next few weeks. So what we're going to do today is look at Saturn moving into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius. And interestingly, how this started coming to me was around the cross of planning coming to its conclusion in 2027, and the cross of the sleeping phoenix coming on. And what happened in a couple of years ago was I was doing a reading for someone, looking at the sort of synastry of their chart as a parent with their son. And she's a sleeping phoenix, and he's got the cross of the spirit, which is a kind of interim cross between the sleeping phoenix and the planning. So that was like, okay. So I didn't realize that there was a kind of cross that actually combined both. And some of you here I know are more into human design. is not my speciality area, but I just thought I'd offer this and kind of see maybe anything that comes back from that I'd be really interested in. So what we'll do is I'll do my presentation as usual, and then I'll pause the recording and you can give any insights. And yes, I think it is the left angled cross of the spirit that I think about. So, okay, oh, good. And Tara's just arrived, who owns the Soul Tribe platform, and she has the cross of planning, which I always feel is very significant, because even though the cross of planning is the one that is coming out, we're actually going to need more of that energy to manage the chaos and the breakdown that, you know, we've already experienced what that can be like with the pandemic and the speed at which things can be broken down in the world. And so we kind of need more actually of that planning energy to kind of decide what we're going to take with us on the journey, what we need, what kind of structures we want to create, and what we're going to leave behind. Yes, so most of you know by now that I'm about to set out on my journey to America, which is very exciting. And at the same time, beginning the contemplation of my culture sphere in the Pearl sequence, which for me is the 32 line 6. And this is all about, what are we going to venerate? What are we going to preserve for the future? And in the line 6, it's kind of really having the big vision of what we need to take with us. And for me, that feels very much about the priestess lineage, the goddess mysteries. But what's really intriguing is that Soul Tribe, as its life work, has the 32 line 6 as well. And I'm about to kind of physically converge with Soul Tribe in the form of the teachers and actually visiting Ojai. And that feels to be a much bigger preservation of the yoga teachings, the technologies that can really help us make this big transition as well. So it's all very exciting. And so this feels like this session is a kind of opening all of our eyes, our ears, our experience to, you know, what are we going to take forward and what are we going to release and let go of? and sometimes we might not have a choice in that, but it's good to, I feel it's good to know we can manage in the chaos. In fact, before I share, I'll just share something else. So earlier today, went on a medicine walk, and we went into some woods above where we are here in Penzance in Cornwall. We came into this clearing with 3 very big mother or father trees. And as I connected with this tree, I actually felt quite like tearful. I felt like quite fragile and just kind of transitory in comparison to the tree, which is so big and strong and rooted. But what came to me is that in this process we're in now, and this whole kind of mother tree idea, which the Soul Tribe retreat is around, but I feel more broadly we're moving into this mother tree energy where we are the ones who will send out the messages. We are the ones who will provide the nutrition and the nurturing to the other people in the forest. So as we go through this immense social change, we become pillars that other people can rely on and feel a certain stability around in this breakdown. Okay, so let's go now. Let's go into sharing this. Okay, so I wanted to begin with this. This is a crop circle that appeared quite a lot of years ago in Britain, but it's one that I've been working with a lot, and specifically around 2022, it came in very strongly. So the energies, there's these 3 kind of energies, and this one on my right is the dragon's teeth. This is a kind of intuitive interpretation of what this crop circle is. So the dragon's teeth is this kind of grinding through heavy karma that we've been going through. And I think especially intense times have been when Saturn has been going through Aquarius. It felt like a lot of like heavy old energies were being ground up. And also, you know, Pluto is in Genekey 60, which is called the cracking of the vessel. And it's a Capricorn Genekey, so it's all about the breaking of old structures and old karma. And then what I feel we break into at the top here is this like a spinning wheel, almost where the air element can pick us up and spin us like seeds across the landscape. And it feels a bit like a wheel of fortune energy as well to me. So that kind of popped up when I was doing putting this together. And then we've got the complete simplicity and emptiness. And we had this discussion yesterday in the art class about how we're becoming we're a 9-centered being, but actually ultimately we're going to simplify into this 3-centered being. And I wonder if this sphere that contains kind of emptiness, simplicity, the quintessence is an even more simplified version of where we're going. And I love this little signature here. This was actually part of the crop circle in the far left. You can see this little squiggle here. It's like the alien signature, like that. Okay, so here we go. This is the chart for the Saturn, sorry, going into Pisces, which is happening tomorrow. And it's also the full moon. So here you can see the moon is opposing the sun there. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that 17 degrees Virgo, where the full moon is, that's actually where my sun is. So I'm feeling like life is getting very big for me right now. Okay, so just to point out a few things on this chart, we have this big line up here in Aries, which is in the 9th house. We have Estrella, who's the goddess of the new golden age. She's also a sacred artist archetype. And we have her there with Vesta, the priestess. She's all about focus and intention. And we have Jupiter, the very expansive energy. And then we have Chiron, the wounded healer. And then we have Venus. So we've got this huge lineup. And then quite a bit further on, we've got Juno there. But we've got a lot of planets at the moment in Aries. And in the next slide, we'll go into which gene keys and stuff they're in. Pallas Athena is aligned to the star Sirius and is moving pretty much the first part of this year, is kind of moving backwards and forwards over Sirius. And Sirius contains like the perfect geometric forms. And so it feels that Pallas is a channel from the 6th dimension of these new forms that can arrive. And here, the beginning of Pisces, we have Saturn. And we've got quite a bit going on in Pisces. We've got Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Neptune there in Pisces. Okay, so let's see what's happening. Okay, so as Saturn moves into Pisces, just the first 7 minutes, literally, of Pisces is gene key 30, line 6. Celestial fire, this is called. And for those of you following Venus, this was the first Venus root gate of this cycle as well. So this gene key 30 keeps popping up. It feels like this very kind of tantric, sexual energy, the 30. Then from 7 minutes in, Saturn's going to move into gene key 55. And this is a huge gene key, as most of you will know if you're involved with the gene keys. It basically describes the whole evolutionary energy that we are experiencing right now as we move from victimization to freedom. And gene key 55, as you will see a bit later on, is part of the sleeping phoenix cross. So just to give the sort of long-term trajectory, as Saturn moves through Pisces, it's going to go through gene key 37, tenderness, the 63, which is connected with this expansive energy, 22, the divine goddess energy, 36, compassion, and finally 25, universal love, until May 2025. And what I notice through these gene keys is 3 of them are 7 sacred seals. So Saturn is going to be kind of having this major activation of 3 of the 7 sacred seals, which are the 63, 22, and the 25. I don't think the 37 is one, no. Okay, so Mercury at the moment is in the 37, line 3, which is to do with tenderness. And earlier on in the week, one of my friends in another forum had posted this little thing on the 37. And of course, I thought immediately of our group here in Soul Tribe. And I also belong to some other groups, actually, that I would say I feel this happening. So if you imagine Richard Rudd wrote this when he wrote the Gene Keys book, so maybe like at least 10, 15 years ago. So in the time to come, these small units of people will begin to emerge all over the world. Our future consciousness will begin in small groupings of people who are mysteriously drawn together for some form of higher purpose. The city of tenderness can only really be felt through this group consciousness. It can't emerge in isolation because it's the glue that brings us together as one. As individuals explore their genius, so they engage the universal force of synchronicity, which places them in a greater context alongside the allies of their genius. One kind of genius usually requires others in order to complete its highest potential. And even a small net of genius can change the whole world. So I find that really exciting, that this idea that we kind of need each other to complete our genius. And even as a small group of genius together, we could change the whole world. That's like phenomenal. Okay, so at the moment, the sun is in 63, line 6, moving from immaturity to expansion to superabundance. And Neptune is in the 36, line 3, which has to do with humanity and compassion. We've got Astrea, Vesta, Jupiter, and Chiron in the 21, which has to do with valor. And Venus is now in the 51. This is a key of deep initiation called arousing the force of thunder. So although some of these transits are short-lived, what they're doing is they're giving us a seed view of this whole process of Saturn as it moves into this new phase in Pisces. And really some key words for that would be the dissolving of boundaries. So, you know, the dissolving of boundaries sounds okay, doesn't it? But actually, it's something as humans we don't really like. You know, when it comes down to it, we kind of like to know what we're dealing with. So yes, so if you find yourself feeling disconcerted, like the boundaries seem to have shifted, or you know, things are no longer as certain as you thought they might be, you know, all these things can be possibly put down to Saturn in Pisces. And check in your own chart, you know, what you've got in that early part of Pisces. And if you have 30 line 6, or you have gene key 55 in your profile or in your human design, then this is going to be, you know, very much activated by Saturn, and the 59, which is the programming partner. So that's the kind of seed energy. Okay, so as if that wasn't enough, we have another huge thing happening this month, which is Pluto moving into Aquarius. And very exciting because it's while I'll be in Ojai, and it's the day after I do my performance of Walk in Beauty, of the book I've written. So I'm very excited that I didn't plan it that way, but it's like, oh wow, you know, it feels like opening a door for me personally, but into the collective as well. Okay, so let's have a look at what's going on by this time. So we can still see this huge lineup of planets in Aries is still there, but we also have the sun and the moon in Aries as well. So we just would have passed the spring equinox, and the new moon will be around 1 degrees Aries or 0 degrees Aries. So we just passed that big opening of the spring equinox. So just to give you an idea, you know, Saturn's only going to have moved 1 degree by there. It's going to have lots of retrogrades over this period. So it's a very slow moving planet, and Pluto's even more slow moving. So here you can see in the 6th house that that Pluto has moved in there, and actually today Hygeia is at 0 degrees Aquarius and has moved to 6. So Hygeia is kind of opening the door first for Pluto to come through, and Hygeia is a healing goddess, and she's about attuning to our natural circadian rhythms, almost like becoming one with Gaia and the earth again. Okay, and then also we have the North Node, Juno and Venus in conjunction there. So let's have a look at what gene keys these are in. So Pluto at 0 Aquarius is in gene key 60 line 4. I mentioned this is to do with truth and justice, divine justice. My contemplation of just this gene key is very much connected with male-female forces and coming into balance again. But also this idea of divine justice, that we should try not to interfere too much in how karma is playing itself out. If we can sort of observe the karma and not get hooked in and not kind of start playing the game again, that's when we can actually short circuit karma. So I feel that this is what this gene key is about. And then it's going to be very powerful then in April 2024. Pluto will move into the 41st gene key, which is the start codon key. So really, if you think that we're preparing towards the start codon, as you know, this whole transitions, they're taking us each like a step at a time towards 2027 and beyond. So again, like it's a seed energy, you know, the day it moves sign, we can look at, okay, what is the seed energy opening up? And the North Node, the karmic destiny, is conjunct Venus and Juno in the 27th gene key, which has to do with altruism and selflessness. So if you're in the Delta game, you will have contemplated this 27th, which is one of the keys. But strangely, I had a dream last night on the 27th. It was like an astrology dream. I can't really remember it, but what I remember is waking up thinking, I must listen to the 27th gene key today. And then to find that the North Node is conjunct Venus, is to do with love and relationships. Juno is to do with love and relationships. So again, I feel that there's a message in this that our relationships have the potential to shift into a much higher frequency that involves kind of altruism and selflessness. So, a lot of our relationship culture is, what am I going to get from my partner? And maybe with this, we're going to look at, well, what am I going to give to my partner? And then somehow naturally, when, I don't know, it's a tricky one, because we also don't want to get into codependence either. So if you've contemplated this 27, sometimes it throws quite interesting things at you, that you might think you're being selfless, and actually then you realize, actually, I'm just being codependent there. And selflessness is something that can sometimes seem like, actually, I need to protect or nurture something that's to do with myself, and not just kind of spread myself too thin or give my power away, I guess. Okay, and then by the time we hit Pluto into Aquarius, we've got Australia conjunct Jupiter and Vesta in 17 Aries, and this is in 51, which is all to do with initiation and arousing the forces of thunder. So that feels like this expansion of Vesta, the priestess, Australia, the new golden age opening up. The expansion of those energies is available to us. And the sun will be in 2 Aries, which is universal love. So that all sounds really positive, but I have been experiencing also quite kind of clearly the shadow of the age of Aquarius, which I'm kind of feeling has to do with, how many computer robots there are, and the stress that can be involved in trying to deal with computer robots, because they're only intelligent enough to answer something that is a quite simple question. So be interesting to see that, and the whole kind of hierarchy, heterarchy, synarchy thing. We may see actually hierarchy playing out even more dramatically as we enter the age of Aquarius, like really being pushed in our faces what a problematic way it is to organize ourselves. Okay, so just to end on this final bit then. So this is the cross we're in right now, which we've been in for the last 500 years, which is the cross, the right angle cross of planning. And so the energy in your cross is to create deals and bargains as part of forming community. The structure of communities and institutions are made up of these bargains or compromises. For example, we pay local taxes so that we can have public schools and transportation, among other community benefits. So I know we've got Tara here, who has this cross of planning, so she's very good at creating community and the structures that are needed. So it's brilliant we've got access to that. And what we're going to find, though, in the big world is that these ways we've been planning, like export of goods, rail infrastructure, road infrastructure, NHS, healthcare, social services. These are all the things that we potentially will see start breaking down. And you can see that very, very strongly in Britain, where I think Brexit kind of accelerated the breakdown, because many things that were kind of quite solidly in place suddenly were no longer there anymore. Okay, so this is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, I discovered this cross through doing a process for someone else with their son in the week. The left angle cross of spirit. So this is the 55-59, and the 9 and 16. So this is like fascinating to me, because this is a transitional cross between the cross of planning and the cross of the sleeping phoenix. Just reading this in the thing. And then, so finally, when we get to 2027, the crosses will change over. I feel like they're like merging right now. And then we'll have this right angle cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is the 55, the 59, the 34, and the 20. So the sleeping phoenix rises from the ashes. The energy of your cross is pushed forward by the energy channeling straight from the sacral to the throat. The energy can be very productive within your cross. Within your cross, however, is the energy that is moody and oscillates between the glass being half full and half empty. Your challenge is to ride this wave and find solace in the half full glass along the way. You are learning much about the process and quality of emotions, and have this gift to bring to others. Okay, so I know we've got a few sleeping phoenixes, a few one cross of planning. So if you have anything to say on that, that would be interesting. I can see there's quite a few conjunctions with the 51. So yeah, if you're feeling these energies, I'd just be really interested in how you're feeling them. You know, how do you relate to what I've said? So I'm going to pause the recording and invite anyone in to have a conversation, a chat.